ubiquitous African Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Kwame Nkrumah.
The Institute offers curriculum deeply focused on cultivating leadership and places wisdom collected from indigenous African cultures and progressive philosophies at the center of its programs.
Our leadership course include Corporate Leadership Professional Course,
Professional Women's Leadership Course,
Philanthropic Leadership Professional Course,
Student and Youth Leadership Short Course,
Political Leadership Professional Course,
the Personal MBA Business Leadership Professional Course.
Whether you choose an online program or not, you will be interacting heavily with your fellow executives.
For those looking to accelerate or change their careers, we provide a rich exposure to your peers and the Poly alumni as you explore. Poly is worldwide, and our alumni is strong.
Visit us to enroll at www.panafricanleadership.institute. Simply fill an application form and proceed to greatness.
Contact us, info@panafricanleadership.institute, panafricanleadershipinst@gmail.com. Phone or WhatsApp, plus 233 55 353 87 80.
Good evening.
It's a big hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you amazing leaders. It's such an honor for us to get to serve you here at Poly. We have been waiting all our lives just to get to serve you on this Gateway to Africa Leadership course. You are the right place at the right time, just doing the right thing. We're excited to have you. My name is Kofi Osei Kusi. I serve as president of the Pan-African Leadership Institute. Respectfully, the first about 25 minutes of this class will serve as an orientation for you leaders, so you get to understand the space where you are and the protocols of where you are. You're in a good place, so we're excited to have you. May I please share my slides? Please ensure that you are in a distraction-free environment and that you have something to take notes with. And the class is also being recorded, and so you will have access to this recording. And of course, the slides and the presentations for class today will also be made available to you. Thank you for being here. All right, great leaders. Like I said, we're going to spend a little time just preparing you. For many of you who are new to Poly, you get a brief background of the institution. You get to learn to sing our anthem. And then we do sing our anthem at the start of each class. We have a word from our Chief Academic Director, who's standing in for our Chancellor today. And then, of course, a beautiful message from one of our distinguished Poly alumni, who will bring you a message as well. And then we go straight to class today. Welcome. So the Pan-African Leadership Institute was established in June 2020, started running courses in 2021. The vision of the Institute. Everyone good? I see a comment about audio. Respectfully, can you hear me, please?
Yes, please. You can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. And so the vision of the Institute is to see an Africa and a world that is led by holistic, entrepreneurial, and conscientious leaders in all sectors of society. Leaders who truly serve, develop, and maximize the potentials of their people for a more prosperous, peaceful, and progressive world. Our courses are in-person, online, and blended. About 80% are online course like you are on right now. Distinguished leaders, we offer a world-class curriculum and a strong global network of leaders in more than 53 countries to be a part of across Africa, the Caribbean, Europe, North America, South America, the Middle East, and Asia to tap into for the rest of your life. In other words, after this course, you don't leave Poly, you get into a beautiful family. Distinguished leaders, we have about 20 different courses here at Poly at the moment. We have the corporate leadership for corporate leaders, entrepreneurial leaders for the entrepreneurial leadership for entrepreneurs. We have the personal MBA, which is our crown jewel course. We have the philanthropic for nonprofit leaders. We have one for women leaders, youth leaders, media and creative arts leaders, traditional leaders, chiefs, diplomatic leaders, family leaders. I guess we are covering nearly every sector of leadership only here at Pali. Distinguished leaders, the greatest cry of every nation, you would agree with me, is leadership or leaders or effective leaders. The greatest cry of every family, every community, every business, every school, the place where you are working, the greatest need, the greatest in-demand skill in the world today is leaders. Leadership is the most critical need of the world today. The good news is that leaders are not only born, leaders are made, and leaders are made through carefully curated leadership programs, as well as the network in which you find yourself. May I kindly congratulate you for answering the call to senior leadership where you are. Beautiful leaders, our concept at Pali, you would agree with me, it's important that the institution has its own concept, and we see leadership through the lens of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is that ancient African worldview that is translated as I am because you are. I am because you are. This is symbolized by the Siamese crocodile, two crocodiles. In our African ancestral philosophy, these are two crocodiles with one stomach. And our elders tell us that these two crocodiles with one stomach, sometimes they fight over food. Can you imagine? You're two people, you have the same stomach. When I eat, it comes into your stomach. And when you eat, it comes to my stomach. And the question is, why do we fight over food? Distinguished leaders, here at Pali, we see this as a symbol of humanity. It represents the need for us to cooperate across different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds. We need to see that we're all eating into one stomach in that spirit of Ubuntu. In other words, the Pali leader must lead with a mindset of Ubuntu and the sense of interconnectedness represented by the Siamese crocodile. Distinguished leaders, we build our leadership curriculum around the 7 framework. One is wisdom. In other words, every course that you join here at Pali, you get wisdom out of it, including this one. Innovation, people skills and service, excellence, cross-cultural intelligence, character, as well as context. Leadership must be applied within context. Distinguished leaders, Pali has a global ceremonial rotation. In other words, our global headquarters moves from country to country. Last year was in Ghana. This year is in Trinidad and Tobago. Where the global headquarters sits is where you go for graduation. Remember, if you go through this course and pass the course, you get invited to graduation. And we're honored to have the beautiful country of Trinidad and Tobago hosting us. And we have our ambassador for Trinidad right here on this course to bring us a message in a few minutes. Distinguished leaders, we are honored here at Pali to be supported by global ambassadors in over 28 countries. And so we are very thankful to these global ambassadors. Beautiful leaders, this is the course number 47 here at Pali. This course is for 4 weeks, 4 Saturdays, 2.5 Sundays. Why did I say I forgot? Thank you, Dr. Jordan. All right. So there are 4 Sundays, 2.5 hours each. We're honored to have over 25 leaders from 13 countries here on this course. And so when I mention the name of your country and you're here, please kindly represent your country well. Put something in the chat room. Let's know you are representing your country in style. Okay, we have here on this course, we have leaders from Canada, we have from France, we have from Ghana, we have from Italy, we have from Jamaica, we have from Nigeria, we have from Rwanda, we have from South Africa. Are you here? Let me see the chat room where you are. Let me watch that. We have from Trinidad and Tobago, we have from Uganda, we have the United Kingdom, and we do have from Zimbabwe. Beautiful. All right, wonderful leaders. All of you are senior leaders with diverse backgrounds. And this particular course is preparing Africans in the diaspora to engage with the continent and also preparing Africans on the continent to deepen their resolve for innovation and also broaden your perspective in order to form stronger partnerships with leaders in the diaspora. So it's looking at inward into the continent, and of course, those on the continent learning and mastering the art of understanding and engaging with leaders from the diaspora. Our learning is both ways, vertical and horizontal. And so you're not only learning from facilitators, we're learning from each other. Distinguished leaders, I've mentioned this already. I think we'll get time and go through this. Let me skip this slide. You have an assignment at the end of the course. There's an evaluation at the end of the course, weekly reflections, and then there is a team assignment. Please, respectfully, you're going to be placed in a team, and this team will be made of diverse leaders from different backgrounds. And you have a beautiful case study that you're going to work on. This case study will enable you to build connections across cultures and then apply the principles that you are picking from the course. I'll leave our Chief Academic Director to talk about Moodle. Let me get to the end. We have a community agreement. And please, once I go through these agreements, kindly type agreed in the chat room if you agree. If you think something should be changed, please put up your hand. Or if you have other things to be added to the agreement, please kindly put it in the chat room. These are the agreements that will bind us over the next 3 weeks that we're going to spend time together. Well, the first one is deep listening. We're going to be listening deeply to each other. Is that agreed? We're going to be very thankful. Please, when there is wisdom shared in class, you're going to be the first to get into the chat room and type, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to be respecting each other across different nations and backgrounds. We're going to be open to learning. We're going to actively network. And we're going to realize that time is a shared resource. We will share the time. No one person will take all the time. And then any other agreements. If you agree to these, please kindly type agreed in the chat room. Okay. Okay, from the US, from Trinidad, from Zimbabwe, from Ghana. Thank you. Thank you, leaders. Thank you. Please, we're here to serve you. Do raise your hand at any point in time during a presentation. You don't need to wait till the end of a presentation before you ask the question. We keep this very interactive, so please raise your hand, ask the question at any point. If you need IT support, please reach out to our IT officer. Great gentleman. His contact is in the chat room. You can always reach out to him if you have any challenges accessing the virtual campus. Thank you so very much. You're required to be active in class for at least 2 hours of the class. Otherwise, you're marked as missed, and the dean will reach out to you with quite a strong message. So thank you for being here. Remember that becoming a better leader is not an easy process. We're here to serve you through. We know you will support us to serve you. Thank you very much. At the end, may I please introduce our Chief Academic Director. She's going to be grading your assignments, and she's going to be supporting us through in the person of Dr. Paulette Jordan. Dr. Jordan is an African-American with over 50 years of leadership experience. She has taught and led faculty teams at more than 8 United States universities and 2 community colleges. She is a retired U.S. Air Force officer. She has served as campus director, faculty lead, department chair, dissertation contact expert, visiting professor, adjunct professor, and an Air Force captain. She serves as the chief academic director of PALI. Outside of the classroom, Dr. Jordan has successfully owned and operated several small businesses and served on the management teams of major corporations. She holds 4 master's degrees, 2 bachelor's degrees, 2 doctorate degrees, and still counting. Please show some love to Dr. Jordan. If you want to pass the course, you better show some love to Dr. Jordan.
Oh. Thank you, Dr. Coffee. Don't listen to him. That's not a condition for you.
It's a condition. It's a condition. You better show Dr. Jordan some love. I don't want you in trouble. All right.
God. It is not.
So
Well, welcome.
Yourself. I'm going to be coming back to you, Dr. Josoli. So please kindly rename yourself, your name and your country. Please do that. Ensure that your full name and country is there so that this is not an open forum. This is not a password you share with your friends and family. This is a paid course. So please kindly name yourself fully and your country right now so that now electronically we are able to check attendance. Thank you. Finally, we get to sing our anthem. We're singing our first anthem. There are two of them. This song is a Pan-African song. Versions of it have been adopted as the national anthems of a number of countries in Africa. Distinguished leaders, this song is sung by the Stellenbosch University of South Africa in the Xhosa language. In English, it says, Lord bless Africa. May her horn rise high, hear our prayers, and bless us. Oh, I think I'm reading the wrong one. All right, I think I just remembered that we're doing Close Your Eyes and Visualize. Okay, so we're doing the second anthem. I just remembered, and it says, Close your eyes and visualize Africa like paradise. Probably we may not see it now, but I know we will be free one day. We'll be breaking all the chains, leave the past with all the pain, stand up tall, neglect the shame. Africa, hear them scream my name. Dr. Jonah, can you imagine I'm reciting this from my head? All right, leaders, this anthem is put together by one of our distinguished facilitators here at Pali. Please enjoy the anthem. Thank you. Thank you.
Africa, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, Mama Africa, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Close your eyes and visualize Africa like paradise. Probably we cannot see it now, but I know we will be free one day, one day, one day, one day. We'll be breaking all the chains, leave the past with all the pain. Stand up tall, neglect the shame. Africa, hear them scream my name. One day, one day, one day, one day. Africa, one day, one day, one day, one day. Africa will make it, yeah. One day, one day. Mama Africa. One day, one day, one day, one day. Africa will make it, yeah. One day, one day. Africa, one day, one day, one day, one day, yeah. One day, one day. Mama Africa, Mama Africa, one day, Mama Africa, one day, one day. Africa, together, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, just one day. Africa, together, one day, Africa, together, we'll make it, yeah. One day,
African people, wake up, make it shine your eye. You know that it'll be time we for change the game. Together we for stand, wait together we gon' move. Wanna shame, wanna frown, flip upside down. Next generation, raise them a level. Flex them a muscle, bless up them a hustle. Sky be the limit, yo, no fear in it. Right here, right now, prime time.
change is coming, right here, right now. Change is here, we are the change. Let's get together, right here, right now. We can make it, we are the change. It starts with you, right here, right now. You and I, we are the change. If we believe it, right here, right now. Africa will make it, yeah. Africa, yeah. Mama Africa, we are the change. Right here, right now. We are the change. Right here, right now. We are the change. Africa will make it, yeah. Right here, right now. Mama Africa, Mama Africa, we are the change. Right here, right now. here, right now, we are the change. Right here, right now, we are the change. Right here, right now, we are the change. Right here, right now.
All right, great leaders. I think I saw Rosine dancing with the children at the end. And I saw you dancing all the way from Italy, dancing right at the end. All right. If you love the anthem, say something about it. Distinguished leaders, before I bring up to Jordan, let me please bring on our distinguished alumni. All right, amazing lady. And we so truly appreciate this great leader. No exaggerations, but she's a true leader. From the beautiful country of Trinidad and Tobago, the Pali Global Ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago, Ms. Vashti Gayadeen. She also serves as the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago. What? I think they sent me the wrong one. But the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Mr. Prince, you picked the other one. She is the CEO. She's the former CEO of the Coalition of Services Industry, but currently the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Let's welcome Ms. Vashti in the chat room, please. Let's welcome her to bring us a message.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kofi. Good day, everyone. It is indeed my privilege to welcome all 25 senior leaders enrolled in the Pan-African Leadership Institute's Gateway to Africa leadership course. You come from 13 different countries, spanning Africa, the Caribbean, North America, and Europe. This truly global cohort reflects the diversity and unity we celebrate in this program. As CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce and a Pali Global Ambassador, I am honored to address such an outstanding group of leaders. Your presence here is a testament to your commitment to growth and to strengthen the bonds between Africa and its diaspora. By way of introduction, I'd like to share a bit of my own journey with Pali. Just under 2 years ago, I was appointed as Pali's Global Ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago, a role which I take seriously, in which I help bridge connections between my country and the wider African diaspora. The Pan-African Leadership Institute, which was founded in 2020, already has an alumni in over 53 countries across Africa, the Caribbean, Europe, the Americas, the Middle East, and Asia. Please give Dr. Kofi and his team a round of applause for this amazing achievement. And together, you are becoming part of this growing global family. When I accepted this role, I was truly honored to join Pali and excited to contribute to strengthening Trinidad and Tobago's diaspora connections. In the past 2 years, I've witnessed firsthand the power of this network, how leaders from far-off corners of the world come together with a shared purpose. For example, during Pali's last graduation, I saw participants who had only met online, embracing each other like old friends. That sense of unity and shared mission is what Pali is all about. Over the next 4 weeks, this Gateway to Africa leadership course will be an enriching journey into the heart of Africa. Africa is not just a continent, it's a gateway to opportunity, culture, and transformation. This program is designed for Africans worldwide and friends of Africa in the diaspora to learn about the current state of the African continent and its rich cultures. You will get a comprehensive overview of African life, history, culture, economics, and global impact, including honest conversations about the legacy of colonization and ongoing efforts to heal and unite the continent with its diaspora. Importantly, you'll also gain practical insights from understanding Africa's emerging markets and projected growth sectors to how to do business on the continent, travel effectively, and appreciate Africa's unique arts, music, and tourism industries. In short, consider this your guided tour of the motherland, offering perspectives on how you can connect with Africa and even how to return home someday for those in the diaspora who feel that call. This course isn't a one-way lecture. It's a two-way exchange of knowledge. We have an incredible lineup of faculty and speakers, but equally important, we have you, a cohort brimming with experience and insight. I urge you to make the most of every session. Ask questions, share your own perspectives, and dive into the case studies and discussions. Remember, you are learning with and from each other as much as from the instructors. PALI prides itself on bringing together diverse executives. In this virtual classroom, you have peers who are today's aspiring world leaders. Leverage that. You will find that the course provides ample opportunities to network and bond with one another, even in an online setting. In fact, one of the program's strengths is that executive students form permanent, meaningful relationships that endure long after the class is over. Some of the people you meet here could become future business partners, mentors, or lifelong friends. One key message I want to impart is that this experience is about building bridges, personal and professional. This relationship you culture during these weeks can become the foundation for exciting collaboration beyond the course. As the head of a Chamber of Commerce, as one of the oldest chambers in the Caribbean, I see immense potential in these connections. We often talk about deepening South-South trade and cooperation, forging direct partnerships between regions like Africa and the Caribbean, Latin America, for mutual growth. In recent times, there have been high-level initiatives, for example, the Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, aimed at strengthening private sector ties between our regions to boost trade and investment. By getting to know each other here and understanding each other's markets and cultures, you are contributing to that momentum. And I must say, the missing ingredient in deepening trade and investment ties has been the business of culture and the culture of business. And this is exactly what this course is about. Who knows, the dialogue you start in a Zoom breakout room could spark the next continental enterprise or social impact project. So I encourage you to use this platform to expand your network. Learn not only from the course content, but also from the rich experience of your fellow participants. Exchange emails, set up side conversations, and keep in touch. This is how we convert a training program into a lasting community of practice. Before I conclude, I have a special invitation for all of you. Trinidad and Tobago is proud to host PALI's global headquarters for 2025 into 2026. And as such, we will be hosting the annual PALI graduation and leadership immersion ceremony in a few months' time. I would love to personally welcome each of you to my beautiful country for that event. Imagine finally meeting your classmates and faculty face to face, celebrating your achievements together and immersing yourself into a new culture. Trinidad and Tobago is a twin island nation known for its world-famous carnival and vibrant multicultural society, and Dr. Kofi will say our bacon shop. During the immersion, you'll get to experience our warm hospitality, our steel pan music, our delicious cuisine, and yes, our beaches. Beyond the cultural experience, the graduation event will be a chance to forge deeper connections with leaders from other PALI courses around the world. Each year, PALI host country offers this unique opportunity for alumni to connect across cohorts and establish meaningful partnerships in person. We in Trinidad and Tobago are gearing up to make it an unforgettable experience for you. So please consider this an open invitation. We will be happy to have you join us for the graduation and see our country firsthand. In closing, I want to underscore what a remarkable journey lies ahead for you. The fact that you've chosen to be here, carving out time from your busy schedule, speaks volumes about your dedication to leadership and the vision of a connected Pan-African world. Remember the powerful word of Ghana's first Prime Minister. I am not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. Regardless of where you were born or where you live today, be it in Africa or the furthest corners of the diaspora, Africa lives in all of us who share this heritage and passion. This course is a step towards honoring that part of ourselves and leveraging to lead with impact. I encourage you to embrace the next 4 weeks wholeheartedly. Let Africa's history inspire you. And I'm speaking as somebody who has studied African history for 3 years at the University of the West Indies. And let your future become a shared endeavor that you help shape. By the end of this course, I am confident you will not only have gained invaluable knowledge, but also a network of comrades and a renewed sense of purpose. Together, let's make the most of this gateway to Africa. Learn, connect, and lay the groundwork for lasting change in our communities. Thank you for your attention. Once again, I welcome you to the program and wish you a truly enriching and transformative experience ahead. Let's get started.
Riveting speech. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Jordan. Thank you so much. Ms. Vashti Gayadeen, this video must be played around the world. I was going to say in the White House. Dr. Jordan, over to you, please. Thank you.
I wish it could be played in the White House. Wow, I will not duplicate what she has just done. She has done a wonderful job of welcoming you to this course, giving you an idea of the content, giving you an idea of the difference that Poly makes in delivering its courses. I taught my first college course, freshman English, back in the 80s, and I've been in higher ed for 38 years, but I have never seen a college or university combine the practical application of their subject's content to theory and your context, as is done in a Poly course. So you're in for an absolute treat over these next 4 weeks. And I hope that you will do as she has said, which is to tune in, give it your full attention, your full participation, ask your questions. If something pops into your mind, push that button and raise your hand and let us know. And whoever is speaking will stop to address that question. So make sure that you give the course the attention for the 2.5 hours that you are with us, distraction-free, your full attention, your full engagement, and I promise you, you will walk away with the gift that will be available to you for the rest of your career. So, and what I like that's different about the Poly presentation is we can't cover all the content of these subjects in the hour and a half that we're given, but we give you as much as is possible. And then we give you resources outside of that you can refer to at your leisure. So I think that over these 47 courses, and I've been here from the very beginning, that we have progressively learned how to use the allotted time that we have to give you the best quality of content on our subjects as we can. And so I think that's what you will see here. I know it's what you're going to see over the next 4 weeks, because the speakers who are coming to you are fully qualified. They are not talking theory, they are talking practice. Here's what they've done, here's what they've learned, and they're willing to share that with you. So welcome to the course, and please just hear us when we say give it the time and the attention. Your team participation, don't wait on anyone else to start that participation. You step out and make contact with those team members. You take the lead on what you all need to do with that case study. And if everybody does that, you won't have any 1 or 2 persons trying to do what the whole team should be doing. So please remember that. Welcome to the course. I am going to do a couple of things. First, I'm going to pray for us. As Dr. Coffee so often says, Africa is a spiritual continent. So we like to open our courses with prayer. And then I'm going to take you to the academic program that we use called Moodle and introduce you to how to use that and access our course material. I am the academic director, and this is an academic course. It's not just sitting for 2.5 hours and listening to a video, but it requires certain things of you in order to pass the course. So I'm going to share that with you. So right now, what I'd like to do is just open us quickly in prayer, and then I will take us to the Moodle platform. Let's pray together. Father, we thank you for this wonderful effort, Lord, to go back to the continent of Africa. Bring us back together, Lord. Unify us in our efforts. God, let us see how your hand has always protected this continent, how your hand has always been at work in this continent, Lord, how you have provided for them with resources and talent and ability and capability, Lord. And we just lift it up to you today. We thank you that this course helps us to focus on that, to establish and reestablish relationships, to build upon friendships that will be established, mutual partnerships, strategic alliances, God, all that can come from us being together over these weeks. We lift this course up to you and ask you to bless it, to direct it, even as we move forward. Let your Holy Spirit be in control. And we ask you, oh God, to bless every family that's represented. We ask you to bless these members as they dedicate this time, Lord. We pray for the support system that you have given them. And we pray, Lord, that you will give us this time together each week to learn more about this continent and how we can come together and continue to bring it back to its leadership position in the world. We thank you for it, and we pray it and ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right, so let me put on my academic director hat.
Thank you.
And I'm going to take us to the platform that we use. And you should be able to go to this exact same platform. It's Moodle, poly.moodlecloud.com. Log in. You should have at this point your username and password to log into the course. When you get there, you hit the login key, and it'll take you to the actual course and show you what's available to you. Our focus would be the available courses, as we're going to have a flagship up there that's going to list them all, but we want to go to our available courses, and then you want to click on the course that you are enrolled in, which is the Gateway to Africa. When you click on this course, it's going to open up the course. It's going to show you everything that we have posted here already. Before we ever start a course, there's certain things that we post so that you have access to them. The most important one is the course syllabus, and we're going to come back to that. I saw a question in the chat earlier about how do you get that anthem, and we've got both of our anthems, the traditional one and right here, right now, posted in the Moodle. So when you get here, you can see there's a team case study. There's some reading material that you are to read at your leisure. There's that final course assignment that we mentioned, and I'll talk a little bit about that when I get to the syllabus. The course evaluation form that's due by the 4th of December. Here are our 2 anthems, and then how to rename yourself on Zoom. Very important, because as Dr. Coffee said, this is not open to everyone. This is a paid course, so access is limited, and if there's a sign-in from somewhere that they do not recognize, they will block that sign-in. So make sure that you name yourself with your country. We give you some networking nuggets, because that is the key to the success of this program long after this course is over, how effective your networking has been. Then the Global Leaders Club, tell us about someone you care about. You post that there. Others can do the same. You share that information, give you some customized courses and training programs, joining one of our upcoming courses, and then connecting on LinkedIn. So as I said, the syllabus is the most important document on it. It is our contract with you about what this course will provide. So when you open this syllabus, it is a Word document and it will give you all of the information about the course. It's going to tell you the projected dates, and it's 4 Sunday sessions for 2.5 hours. So we meet today and the next 3 Sundays for 2.5 hours. That's the 3:30 to 6 p.m. Eastern time in the US, and you can convert that to your local time. I'm going to skip us to, this is just a course introduction. This tells you about the reading material that's already posted as a PDF in Moodle for you. So each week there's a schedule of what we're going to discuss and how it relates to this description. So each week you've got the discussions here. You'll have qualified facilitators who will lead you through those. And then in the final week, you'll notice their team presentations here. So let me just spend a few minutes talking about the 2 assignments that are due. The first assignment is a written individual assignment. This is your work. We give you a template. We ask you to limit your writing to 2 pages and to answer these 4 questions. And if you just answer the questions with the amount of words that we are suggesting under each one of them, you'll come up with the 1 to 2 pages. Sometimes students give a whole lot of other information that we do not need. Please focus on what the question is asking, and then focus on the number of words that we have allocated for that question. The second part of your assignment is the team presentation. There you're going to use that case study that's posted in Moodle. You're going to meet together outside of class time and come up with answers to those questions. Now, we're also asking you to evaluate each team member's participation. This is strictly confidential. No one sees it except myself and the dean. But if a student is identified as not participating, get marked either a 2 or a 1, then we reach out to them separately. We never reveal who rated them at that level. We just simply say you were rated at this level. And so it's strictly confidential, but we ask you to be as truthful as you can, because we can't see the participation of 4 or 5 teams at one time. So please take time to do that. That's part of your template as well. Each course is graded. It's a pass-fail grade. So you have to meet the requirements of the participating on the team with your case study and the written 2-page assignment, individual assignment, and have those submitted before the deadline so that we can grade them. And it's especially important in December because we're talking graduation in January. So we need to have that graded and into the dean in time enough for your name to be entered as a graduate. We trust that you are doing your own work, so we operate on an honor system. We hope that there are no plagiarisms in your writing, but if we notice that, we will point it out to you. But make sure if you just answer the questions with your own words and thoughts, we won't have any problems. And if there's anyone who has a disability, if they'll let us know, we can see what kind of accommodations we can make in order to accommodate them. Any questions on Moodle? Okay. Back to you, Dr. Coffey.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jordan. Are you thanking Dr. Jordan, distinguished leaders? All right, our facilitator is ready. Just going to him wait for just about 3 minutes. Let's just do this in about 3 minutes, and then we bring on first facilitator. First leaders, remember we sign a contract. You just signed a contract that you're going to say thank you. I haven't seen you saying thank you to Dr. Jordan. Wonderful leaders. Where are the thank yous? We're not moving without thank you. All right, are we together? Okay, beautiful. Let's get running. So we're done. We're starting class now. Please hear, what do you think about this African proverb? If you have not been outside of your home, you should not say that your mother's soup is the best in the world. What do you think of it? We have just 3 minutes to share our thoughts on this. Good to see Dr. Chichi live. All right. Okay, distinguished leaders, what do you think of this? Please pop up your hand and let's hear your wisdom. What do you think of this? Just 3 minutes, please. Pop up your hand. This is a chance to introduce yourself. Let's have one or two introduce yourself, and then tell us what you think about this African proverb. Mr. Hubert from the Thousand Hills, Rwanda. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much about this African proverb.
Your name,
And
your country,
I love
your organization. Thank you.
I'm Habat Pranav. I'm speaking from Rwanda. I love this African proverb. Happening. So when you move out of your home, you'll be appreciate your mother's food, but also appreciate more of what other people are producing. Thank you.
Thank you for your wisdom, sir. Let's go to Madam Aisha in Trinidad.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aisha. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and I represent the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber, and I lead an export action program. And the proverb is really interesting. I've never heard it before, but it's kind of, when you read it, it made me chuckle because it's true, right? Until you've experienced things outside of your home, what is your frame of reference to compare? So oftentimes we would hear people say, so I'm Trinidadian, that one particular delicacy is the best, and then you taste it and you're like, no, that's not, I've tasted better. But that person, because their frame of reference is within a certain space, they would think it is the best. So it's a really interesting proverb. I've never heard it before.
Thank you, Madam Aisha. Madam Dorcas, please. We take Dr. Florence as the last. Madam Dorcas, please. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Dorcas from Zimbabwe. I'm a consultant. I love this proverb because I think, to me, it talks about embracing difference. So while I love my mother's soup, am I prepared and ready to embrace something different and actually be able to enjoy it as much or even more? So it talks to me about dancing with difference, about being open and adaptable. Thank you.
Incredible wisdom from you, Madam. Let's go to Dr. Florence, please. You have the final word. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I side with the last speaker, and I'll also say that people have different strategies of handling things. So if I have my own strategy, and my strategy is is really good, and doesn't mean that mine is better than someone else. It means that the other person too might have a strategy that will serve better and even a good one than mine. So I think that's my view. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Distinguished leaders, please kindly introduce yourself in the chat room and then share your perspective on what this African proverb says. Love to go around, but let's get to class. We've been keeping our first professor waiting. Dr. Jordan, please.
Yes, I am happy to introduce to you Dr. Stephen D. Hancock. Dr. Hancock is a distinguished professor of urban teacher education at North Carolina State University in the U.S. He has served as an international visiting lecturer at various universities in Germany, Ireland, and the UK, and has provided socio-cultural learning experiences for teachers and students in Mexico, China, Singapore, Malaysia, Ghana, and South Africa. He is a member of the European Cooperation in Science and Technology, and a significant part of his work has been focused on the sociology of race, Curriculum, Supremacy, Trauma, Decolonization, and the Racialized Self. He has co-edited 3 books, including Autoethnography as a Lighthouse, Illuminating Race, Research, and the Politics of Schooling, and has also published many chapters as well as articles in top journals, including the Harvard Education Review. His topic today is decolonizing mindsets about Africa. Please help me welcome Dr. Stephen Hancock.
Good evening, everyone. Make sure I can share my screen here. I hope that everybody's having fun. I know it's evening in some places here in the US. It is about 4:26. I'm going to get started because I'm trying to keep you on time and keep you awake for those of you who have a later time than I have. So let me just share my screen very quickly. Okay. All right. Are you able to see it in which mode do you see it in? Presentation or?
Yes, you're in presentation. You're good.
So you don't see my notes?
No, we
'Cause I
don't.
can't. I don't know which one you all see. All right. So, oh, and I have to, Dr. Joe and I am at North Carolina A&T State University.
Ah, we need to correct that. That's a big difference.
That's a huge difference.
Okay.
I say that to you all on because I am at the largest HBCU in the United States, where we have over 15,000 students. And so, yeah, so I'm at North Carolina A&T State, as you see on the screen. And so I'm going to start off, and I want you all to go with me. I normally put so much into these that I often run over, but I'm going to try and stay cognizant of the time. And I believe I have until what, Dr. Joe, and I just looked at it, but I want to make sure that I have the time.
It says 50 minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
so got it. So till about 10 after, maybe thereabouts. All right, so what I'm going to do is talk about this idea of interpersonal decolonization. And what I want you to begin to think about is where in your personal space do you realize you've been colonized, right? What do you do? How do you think? And where do you go? And what do you believe, right? What are your values and norms? And are these values and norms a part of colonization? So I'm going to start here with this idea of the process of colonization. So what does the colonizer want you to believe? And what did the colonizer believe about you, right? And then we'll look at this whole process of what it really means to be colonized. And then we'll go into a specific space. And I'm sure Dr. Kofi is going to enjoy the fact that I'm going to jump into the colonization of Ghana. And so let's go ahead and get started. So here is this idea of what the colonizer meant. This book here is a book by a French author. And it was one of the books that was used, or the ideas that was used to really colonize the continent. And you'll see some of the quotes. I'm not going to read all 4 of them, but I'll read Cecil Rhodes, the 2 from Cecil Rhodes. He says, I contend that we, the white race, are the finest race in the world, and that the more of the world we inhabit, the better it is for the human race. Let that sink in. Okay. Then he said also, Africa is still lying ready for us, and it is our duty to take it. More territory simply means more of the Anglo-Saxon race and more of the best of the most human. We are the most honorable race the world possesses. Now I want you to think about that and think about colonization, right? And think about where you are. Do you believe what Cecil Rhodes has said? Do you actively believe it? Or do you subconsciously believe it? And that's very different. Now, on the surface, many of us will say, oh, of course I don't believe that. But the reality is that we're colonized and we do believe that. And this is where we believe it. Look at these brands. On the continent of Africa, everyone is going after these brands. I mean, if I look at another Nollywood movie and everyone are rich and everybody wants to look like an American or European, everybody wants to wear these labels. I'm thinking, you've been colonized to believe in this value system. Also, on the continent, bleaching cream is huge because you've been colonized to believe that straight hair, lighter skin is better. It is more superior. So I want you to just go back to Cecil Rhodes' talk. I contend that we, the right race, are the finest race in the world, and that the more the world we inhabit, the better it is for the human race. Now, he says that out of his mouth, but you have to ask yourself, how is he making this happen? Or how are they making it happen? Once again, if you're looking at these brands, you have these brands all over the continent. Very few of them are really African oil brands but most of that oil is coming from Africa. You also have this, where you see the leading industry, the mining industry. It's right there. And most of those countries do not receive the gifts of the very resources that they have. That's colonization. So before you throw Cecil Rhodes' words out and go, I never believe in that, ask yourself, who do you value more? What do you value more? And are those values your ancestral values, or are they values of the colonizer? Now, let me just, put a pause in here. As an African American, my ancestral reality is on this continent. My historical DNA reality is on the motherland, right? And as we heard before, the first founder, the first president, Kwame Nkrumah of Africa, of Ghana, who says, you're not African because you were born in Africa, you're Africa because Africa is born in you. I truly believe in that space. And so I'm African because it's born in me. The reality is that if you're there on this beautiful space, in this beautiful continent, and you are living Cecil Rhodes' reality, it is time now to wake up. It is time now to push back. It is time now to get out. The white race is not the most honorable race the world possesses. It is not the best of all humans. And it should not be waiting to take the land in Africa. Now, Cecil Rhodes said this a long time ago, but this sentiment still goes on today. In fact, it is happening at present moments. And so we want to begin to think about this idea of decolonization, because you're coming into this course not to be stroked and to be petted. You're coming into this course to be enlightened, to be awakened, and to become active in your own freedom, as the anthem says, right? Keeps repeating this one day, one day. Well, that one day is today. And so I want you to begin to think about your own personal freedom. So let's just look at this process here. These are the 5 steps to colonization. And this is what is happening. And you'll see the 5 steps in the middle, and around those 5 steps are what is happening to your mind. Okay? So the first step is, of course, denial and withdrawal. So what happens what happened to you as you grew up on the continent? What did you deny and withdrew from? Right? Denial and withdrawal is a very insidious and sometimes very tiny. It's like the foxes nibbling on the vine, right? You don't realize how much damage it is until the next season comes and the grapes don't bloom. Well, denial means that as a child, in your mindset, when you went off to school, it was teaching you to deny the historical and the social powers of your community, making you believe that those were primitive. And therefore, you begin to withdraw from what mom said, what grandma, what grandpa, what the chief says. All of that stuff becomes old and, ancient and unuseful for today. See how insidious it is? And many of you, if you were in my class, I said, raise your hand if that happens. If that happened, many of us would probably raise our hand. The next thing is destruction and eradication. So it goes from this idea of denial right to destruction. Now I often tell students, don't think of destruction as, yes, it's coming in and knocking down everything and it's horrible and you can see it. Oftentimes, this destruction and eradication is the same as denial and withdrawal. It's very small, but it's permanent and it's painful, right? So once you begin to deny who you are, your ancestral heritage, then you begin to destroy, right? And you begin to move it out the way. Many people move from the village to the city, right? Yes, for job and opportunity spaces, but also to move away from those ideas and beliefs and cultures. The next is the denigration, belittle, and insult. So here, now you're in a group where everyone is thinking the same and they begin to belittle what has happened, the old ways of curing you, the old ways of believing, the old ways of worshiping. They begin to belittle those and it becomes an insult, right? And insulting, right? And you have to understand that if you go back to the old medical ways of the medical spaces and people in ancient Africa, those very same ideas, medicines are what we're using today, right? But we threw those people out because we were becoming colonized, right? The next step is that you become a token. Think about the companies and the businesses, right? You're a token. Your voice is not heard or is not powerful. You're now a token, right? And token don't mean that you're walking around just doing what they're saying. It often means that you're visibly invisible. Or more importantly, what I've just written up in an article, you are disvisible. Now, disvisible, D-I-S, visible, means that they only see, or people only see what the part of you that they want to see. And a part of the you that they don't want to see, they make it disabled, right? And so your voice is not there. Got it? So if you're a Black woman, they don't want to see Black or woman. They just want to see the person working. And they give you all the space over there, but they never realize this intersectional reality of who you are. Finally, it's transformation and exploitation. Then you're transformed and you begin to exploit your own people. You begin to exploit your own culture. And as you see going around it, it produces internalized inferiority, institutional subordinations. You become institutional subordinates, as I said before, in this whole idea of tokenism. You are now subject to ideological supremacy. You really believe in whiteness as power, and you're now disenfranchised from your people. And this is what happens with colonization. And these are the tactics of the colonizers. And while it happened over 500 years ago, it is still happening today. So you may say, well, I don't know if that's happening, Dr. Hancock. Well, let me show you this space here. So here is colonizing through religion in school curriculum. And this is the modern case study of the modern day Ghana, right? And so I'm going to walk you through this historical space so that you can understand and see that while these things happened years ago, they're still happening now. So first you have the merchant and slave trade education system. Now this is starting in 1529, and it was 300 years of just brutal brainwashing, right? Where Africans actually supported their own demise, physically, financially, literally. And few Africans were actually chosen to be part of this educational system, right? And with those few, they established this hierarchy where the ones who are helping the merchants and slave traders become the rich Africans. 300 years of this is going on, of establishing mathematicians and interpreters, and even scouts. This is this first educational system that hit Ghana from the West. Then in the 20s or the 1800s, you get a whole line of mission work. Okay. Now, while the merchant slave trader was an informal structure that supported knowledge through direct engagement with merchants, the missions were totally different. So first you had the Basel missions, which was a German speaking mission, and they were actually from Switzerland. And they worked with the Asante tribe, the Akwapim, and the Ga people, right? And here they built these schools. They even established and interpreted the Bible in Twi, and they created training schools. But it was also entwined with the colonial context, leading to a complex legacy that included the imposition of European cultural norms, the support of slavery, and a paternalistic approach to social reality. So while, yes, they came in and did these things, what was their core mission? I want you to keep that ahead. Keep that idea there. So they gave some things, but they also had a core mission. It's the exact same with the Wesleyan mission, who came after the Basel in 1835, and they worked with the Fontaine. And so you'll see that each of these missions went into their own areas to work with the people in modern day Ghana. Now, the Wesleyan mission was not simply about Christian conversion. It also served to introduce European concepts of civilization, meaning that it civilized the African, European commerce, governance, and the subordinate local institutions to colonial interest, right? So it made sure that everything in that area was to support the colonies, was to support Europe. Everything, all the local businesses supported European merchants. So though it also created an indigenous church. The introduction of the Wesleyan medicine and education was often done at the expense of traditional healing and governance systems, leading to the marginalization of local partners, local practitioners, and ancient knowledge. And this is what you have to understand. While these schools were established and these hospitals were erected, traditional healing and governance systems were eradicated. Got it? And what is happening is these ancient knowledge is now pushed aside and pushed down. Remember what I just earlier gave you, the 5 steps for colonization. Here it is in action with missionaries. The next group came into Ghana, was the Burman Mission, right? And of course, they did the same thing as the Wesleyans. They established schools and churches. And while the missions provided important services like education and healthcare, these efforts were embedded once again with colonial context that included a belief in European culture as superior. They directly, they didn't hide it about the fact that the European culture was superior. And it was also, of course, intertwined with colonial political interest. And so you have these 3 missionaries, and I put that in quote, as I had an enlightening conversation with our great leader, Dr. Kofi, about this idea between Christianity and discipleship. While they may have been moving in this Christian space, they were certainly not disciples of Christ. And we want to make sure we understand that difference. And I'll let Dr. Kofi do that for you all later. And finally, you get to think about this idea of the genesis of educational policy. Now, this is where it still lives today. So it introduced a curriculum that included some vocational school, some moral education, and some intellectual or academic education. But it also served as a tool, and this is the most important thing, for social control and acculturation into British reality, aiming to train a new elite group and reshape the Ghanaian society. So you got to understand that these policies were a response to the British view that traditional African education was primitive, and so it laid the foundation for a system that will continue to evolve and have heavy influence by European models. This system is still happening in 2025, not just in Ghana, but in many countries in Africa. It is called the Genesis of Educational Policy. You can look it up, Google it, it'll jump right up for you. So you want to begin to think about this idea of decolonization, because you can't go forward and be free, as the anthem says, when you are colonized. And so I'll show you the mission of colonization.
Yes,
So let's
just
start.
jumping in quickly. Jumping in quickly, Prof. Distinguished leaders, remember, this is your class. Here at Poly, you don't need to wait until the end. If you have a question somewhere, just pop up your hand. We will stop, because this is a conversation, and you're part of this conversation. So pop up your hand at any point in time, and then jump in. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Please carry on.
Yes, so someone asked, Faith asked, what's the core mission of the Wesleyan? Well, I'm about to tell you the core mission of all of them, all three of them. You'll see the core on the screen now, as you see the orange dot in the middle. The core of each of these is for colonization and subjugation. The main purpose is to subjugate the African, right? Is to put them under the thumb of European reality, right? And this is how they put the African under the thumb: through schools for mental control and intellectual control, hospitals for physical control, infrastructure and banks for financial control, and religion for spiritual control. They have systematically infused all of society on the continent with colonization, with that center core. And they've done
Professor
it.
Professor Ankor, I have a question for you. How do we know this? Are we being paranoid, or what's the data behind it? I mean, were they not just nice people trying to evangelize, and how do we know their intention? Aren't we just coming up with these things? So maybe all of this happened as a side effect of a good thing they were trying to do. So, Professor Hancock.
Well, I mean, one of the things you want to do is you want to just go to the literature. You'll see at the bottom of that page, Ernestina Wiafe just wrote this article in 2021, and you all can take that and look it up. But the article is well written and it is well cited. But there are also articles and chapters and books from over 100 years verifying these things. And as I started out, you see that it was spoken by Cecil Rhodes and is a well-known reality. And if you want to know, just go to the Genesis of Education Policy. It's sitting there. It's not hidden. You can see what it was meant to do and what its mission is. And so, no, these are not just anecdotal experiences or thoughts. Each of these missions are there for you to look for and to go in deep dive. And I often tell my students, if you don't believe it, that's good. I love that. Go do your own research, right? And find it for yourself. Because once you begin to do that search, you'll really begin to understand exactly what I understand as I do the search often. And so that's a very good question, Dr. Kofi.
Quick one. I couldn't agree with you more, because I was recently in Nigeria, and it forced me to do some reading very quickly. And the colonial British had succeeded in what's the word? In invading, let me use the word, in Western Nigeria, where Lagos and all of that is, and also a little bit of the north, but they struggle with the with the eastern part of Nigeria. They struggled a lot in doing that, because the eastern part of Nigeria does not quite have chiefs. The west and the north did have chiefs, and so there was indirect rule through the chiefs. They couldn't do that in the east. And so after a lot of persistence and failure, what they did was they sent missionaries there. They just paused and right now just push missionaries there. And by sending missionaries there, after a little while, poof, they were able to colonize the East. So just affirming what you're saying. Thank you.
Yeah, and the reality is that we have to begin to think about, as we're moving as leaders, as innovators, that we can't get to where we are trying to get in a colonized space, because colonized minds colonize, right? You're going to push people to the same space. You're going to believe, oh, it's okay, the straight hair and all of the things that the Western has pushed on Africa and continues to push. You're going to pick those things up as if they are superior to what you believe and know and have been raised in. And so I want you to begin to think about this core mission of each of these missions, missionary groups, as well as the genesis of education policy, right? The core mission is simply to colonize, to have control over your spirit, your finances, your physical, and your mental. This is the core mission of the colonizing space. And so it's time to get free. So next question would be, well, how did they do it? And so as you ask that question, I'm going to read a quote from this article. So Ernestina says, it is evident that the Western formal education introduced to the people of Gold Coast by the Christian missionaries and the British colonial government did not serve the indigenous people well. Rather, it denationalized and facilitated the indignity and loss of language and cultural identity of the Ghanaian. Now, it lost loss of language and cultural identity of the Ghanaian, right? The missionary and colonial education aimed at character training and civilization resulted in cultural annihilation, religious and linguistic hegemony. So what she's saying is that before they got there, the Ghanaian culture looked different than what it looks like now. It has been annihilated, right? Further, the spread of the Christian faith that was to bring salvation to heathen African souls became a medium for imperialism and the indoctrination of Western culture. And so in this article, she also puts on blast, like the kids say, religion and how the missionaries used it not just as a tool to bring salvation, but as also a tool to introduce and indoctrinate colonization. And so what you want to begin to think about is, as you move through this space and as you continue to grow, how are you colonized and where are you colonized, in what spaces? So here is a way that your schools work in colonization, and this is how the colonizers work. And this comes from a big research project that I conducted 5 years ago, looking at people here in the United States. And so what we found out is that trauma, curriculum and colonial trauma, happens because there's an overrepresentation of positive things for whiteness and an overrepresentation of negative for blackness or non-whiteness. But we know in the United States, the antithesis of whiteness is blackness. So everything is anti-black, and then everybody else gets it. So this idea is that when we look at our curriculum, it was an overrepresentation of positive for whiteness and negative for blackness. I asked you to think about the curriculum that you were schooled in and ask yourself, was there an overrepresentation of whiteness and a positive for whiteness and an overrepresentation for negative for blackness? So what does it do when you have an overrepresentation for positive or whiteness? There's a false internalized superiority specifically for white students, and then tangentially for black students who are trying to be colonized or are colonized into whiteness, right? That means you have an academic longevity. You now see yourself as this in this space. and you don't see yourself naturally in the space that you are. This overrepresentation for negative for Blackness creates, of course, internalized inferiority. You'll see that as you saw in the actual process of colonization. Internalized inferiority is one of the major points to get to colonize the mind. Then you also see academic fatigue. You get students who don't want to go to school, who think school is stupid. And we, if we're colonized, we go, no, you need to go to school and learn. And your kid will be like, learn what? I don't want to learn that. It's crap. And you fight the child, but the child is not yet been quite colonized. And we're pushing them back in there so that the school can tell him that he's not worth it. All right, go ahead, Levi. Levi, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Dr. Hancock. Yeah, now I was just going to ask about, especially coming in from the American side, the views of the critical race theory with regards to colonialization, and because obviously a lot of people do not agree with the critical race theory, but or they've dismissed it as irrelevant or non-existent or not valid, whichever way you may.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you see this fitting in with colonization? Thank you.
Right. Well, I mean, I want you to begin to think of the source. So critical race theory, and that's all, I mean, if you want a class on that, I actually teach that. But critical race theory is a theoretical construct that helps you analyze and interrogate context, situations, and issues. And those of people who are saying that it is not useful are, of course, are not proponents of it and do not want it used. It's not that it's useful or unuseful. It's just simply if you're using it, it's like putting on a pair of glasses, right? And those of you who don't want to see the truth or don't want to see it from a racial space won't use it. So I'll give you one tenet of it, that racism is endemic in every institutional structure in the United States. So you have to ask yourself, is that true? Well, let me do a quick analysis. Healthcare, yeah. Right. Education, yeah. Banking, sure, yeah. Education, and so forth and so on. And so the thing is that, yes, it's useful. And is it useful in understanding colonization? Of course it is. I use critical race theory in my work to actually to tease through all of it to make sure that I'm not just saying, as Dr. Kofi was saying, I'm not just saying stuff. I'm using it as an analytical tool to help me see, is it really racism? Or are they just nice people doing nice things and this just happened, right? So yes, critical race theory is real. And those of us who counter it or are against it or even for it without reading and studying, that becomes problematic, right? Go read and study it before you stand for or against it, so that you can really understand what it really means. And so I hope that answers your question. So you'll see here in the red circles, this is where colonial trauma lives. It lives in this internalized inferiority, this academic fatigue, cultural and historical apathy, meaning that you don't want to learn about your culture and your history. Remember, going back to the 5 stages of process of colonization, this is what happens in those processes, right? You have this despondent identity development. That was one of the boxes in the process of colonization. But this is how we do it. This is how colonization happens. It happens in your curriculum, not just in your school curriculum, but in your social curriculum. What the commercials are saying, the TV shows, the government, all of that helps maintain colonial control. And so you see the 2 paradigms, either overrepresentation of positive for whiteness and an overrepresentation of negative for Blackness, and an omission of positive for Blackness and an omission of negative for whiteness. And so you'll see this, and you'll see it over and over again. And the students that the lights don't go out become more colonized. Okay. Some students, when you say, well, they don't go out of school, they dropped out. Many of those students are what we call canaries in the mine shaft, right? They're singing to you, saying, listen, don't keep going down that road. But many of us go, right? Because we think this is what we're supposed to be. This is success. This is what success looks like. But I want you to begin to challenge that. Is this success supporting your cultural and social historical realities? Is it putting Africa back in its rightful space? Or if it's mimicking, is it mimicking and to be like the West? Okay. So I have this short little story, and I learned it as a kid, and I don't know who taught it, or I'm sure it's a story, like a fable. But it was about a dog who had this delicious bone. Now, the bone was about 2 feet long, and it was juicy with good marrow, and he had it in his mouth, and he was going off to tear it up. And as he crossed the bridge, he looked down and he saw his reflection in the pond, still pond, and he looked at it and he began to growl. The reflection growled back. He growled more, the reflection growled more. And then he thought, well, he has a bigger bone. I'm going to take his bone. He opens his mouth, of course, to grab the bone, and of course, his bone fell out of his mouth, and of course, sailed on down the river. And so, therefore, he lost what he had, trying to get what he thought was better. That is the picture of Africa in this colonized world. Losing the beauty of Africa, trying to get what you don't need, right? Trying to become Europe when we don't need another Europe, and it's more than Europe. I often say, without the Black culture in the United States, we would not have the United States. I often say that if it weren't for my ancestors, my great-grandparents who were enslaved, who built this country, we wouldn't be where we are, right? And I often say to people, while I am an African in diaspora, my ancestors died and toiled on this land, and I am not trying to give up something for something better. And I look at Africa and go, it is a beautiful space. Why are you trying to look like this? And now that you see what's happening, do not give up what you have for something that you think is better, because that is the inherent reality of colonization, to be colonized into believing that you don't have what it takes. And as you see this diagram up here, this is the goal, to colonize your mindset, to make sure you have internal inferiority. Make sure you prioritize foreign products and languages over your own, right? Make sure you devalue your own cultural lifestyle. This is what's happening, right? And this is what colonization looks like. So we've had enough of what it looks like. Now I'm going to just show you a little bit of how to get out of this. So here's one of my favorite quotes from Paulo Freire, the Brazilian intellect. The oppressed, having internalized the image of the oppressor and adopted his guidelines, are fearful of freedom. I'm going to ask you a question that Jesus asked. Do you really want to be free? Now I want you to let that rest. Do you really want to be free? When the man says, well, I do, but I have no one to help me, Jesus said, I'm not going to go to your pity party. Get up and walk. Pick that mat up and walk. So the question is, do you really want to be free? I hear the song every time we do this class. It's a wonderful song, right? And I often think, well, when is that day going to come? You know the refrain. And so, as I said on the outskirt, this is the day. And this can be the day. So here we go with the colonize your mindset. So first, you have to free yourself from ways of knowing the values and norms and the concepts that are rooted in whiteness, that are rooted in the colonizer. And I have to do this every day, right? It's not something you just say, oh, I'm free. And yeah, freedom is often work every day to get up and go, okay, you know what? I'm not going to think like that. I'm not going to call my fellow brothers ghetto because they're this and they're that. I understand how the system works and how it works to divide. So the thing is that freedom is work every day. It's not one day that you just get free, right? So here's how you free yourself. First of all, you need to mourn. You need to say to yourself, this stuff is hurting. This is painful. I did ignore my grandma's thoughts. I did ignore my grandfather's wisdom. I did say, you know, mourn that. I didn't listen to him before he died. I didn't write down the things he was trying to tell me. I didn't do those things. Mourn it, because that's colonization that told you not to do it, that pushed you out of that space, that made you differently. Look at your cultural heritage differently. That is colonization. Got it? Then dream. After you do that, dream. Begin, okay, you know what? I've done this. I'm on. And mourning doesn't just happen once. It's not a steps. Mourning is a continual thing. Dreaming is continual. Discovery and rediscovering is continual. Committing is continual. And of course, acting is always. So you want to do those things. These are 5 things you have to do. Each of these are verbs. So verbs are to do, right? You have to do them. Got it? Every day. Begin to think. Every time I learn something, I mourn. I go and go, okay, I wish I had learned this when I was younger. I wish I could have expelled it to all my students or given it to all my students. I have to mourn this new knowledge, right? And then I have to make sure I center myself on values and ways of knowing of my ancestral space on the continent of Africa. Because when we go, we try and look to Africa for the authenticity. And when we look at Africa, we see them trying to be like us. And we're like, no, I don't need you to. No, I don't have the real bone. You do. When I say I want to be an African American, I don't want to be an African American and an African who's trying to be an American. I want to be the authentic African. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? But we can't do that, or we can't hear or see that because you're so busy trying to be us. And we've lost it because we're like, we don't know what authentic Africa looks like, right? And so the things that don't try and be us, be you, so that then we can aspire to be you. That's what we're looking for. The strength of the ancestors, that we're still here. The strongest people on the planet. We're still here. Where is that strength? Yes, we can look at our ancestors here in the United States that crossed that Atlantic Ocean. In order to get here alive, they had to be the strongest people on the planet. And then I am a remnant of those people. But even before they crossed, there is a strength. We want to see it. And that's what that's where decolonization has happened, right? You have to decolonize so you can see the beauty in your own strength. The strongest people on this planet are on the continent of Africa. And that's just not me saying it because I am of that descendant of it. It is factual. What other people on this earth had to endure that type of reality? Yes, slavery is not new. But when you think about a transatlantic, the first of any year that recorded that people went across that much water and had to stay alive, nothing horrible. So the reality is that, where is the strength? I want to see the authentic African. I want to know what she and he looks like so that I can aspire. They can show me the strength. Yes, I see the strength of my mother and my grandfather and my great grandfather and my enslaved great grandparents. I can see that strength, how they had to endure that. But that strength did not start with them. There's a source. but Africa is still dropping the bone, trying to pick up a bone that's not there. Hold on to what you have and stop running after something that is not your purpose. That is colonization. When you're colonized, you don't know where you are. So each of you has to move into this space of
A quick
interpersonal
interjection,
colonization.
just beautiful leaders. How many of you think this is a lot of wisdom? This is a master class. Just put something in the chat room. Let's know that this is a truly master class. Just mind blowing. What do you say in just one word? What do you say in one word about the class so far? I hope you're getting your questions ready. Prof will be wrapping up in the next 4 minutes or so. So
This is the last slide.
So we can think. What do you think? Let's see what you think so far. This is your class. This is our class. Right. Let's in the chat room what you think, and please do get your questions ready. Thank you, Prof. Carry on.
All right, so this is the last slide that I will share with you, and I want you to take this away because this is what I use, and I just developed, and it's still being developed. I'm going to be writing it in a paper sometime, but I'm still developing this idea of interpersonal or intrapersonal decolonization. So how do I try and stay decolonized from the American reality, understanding that I was born and raised in this imperial system that was developed and nurtured and powered by my own people, right? We wouldn't be here without the enslaved African. And so it's a little different for me. My nexus, my source was this space. And then my ancestral source was the continent. And so I understand those different sources, right? Right. My ancestral source is the continent, but my current source is now, right? It was the United States. And so I get up and I try and do this. So first I look at the intrapersonal, right? This idea of critical reflexive. The intrapersonal means this internal, right? Is you're dealing with self. And so first I have to do this critical reflexive practice, right? Where it involves examining not only my own actions and thoughts, but also how they affect others and how they're affected by the broader context, right? How am I walking through this? And that's what I want to know about the African. When you get up, who are you and how are you reflecting? Right? I have my own context here in the United States. I understand that. You have your own context there on the continent. How are you reflecting on who you are, your thoughts and your actions, and how they are affected by and how they affect the broader context that you live in, your environment, and even other people? So a question that I ask is, how do I impact colonized spaces in my daily life, in my daily journey? So how do you impact colonized spaces in your daily journey? Right? And you may not know because if you're colonized, you've never moved outside of it. Secondly, this idea of knowledge and activism. So here you must teach and learn about pre, during, and post-colonial contributions and geniusness of African peoples. Because even, that's why we're the strongest people on the planet, even during colonization and enslavement here in the United States, Africans and African Americans, or they were enslaved Africans, were still doing innovative things and still becoming. That's the strength I'm talking about. And even in colonization, the continent was still doing and creating and moving and doing innovative things. Many of it was stolen and marked off as Europeans, but we know that stuff was there. And then, of course, this idea of intimate love of self, knowing yourself historically and presently, and not only just knowing, but loving, right? Moving through the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, we have another question that I'm going to finish this up. Leave out another question.
Yes, I'm sorry, but I like this interpersonal decolonization graph you have, but I'll speak for myself, and I don't know how it affects others, but what exactly can I look at as being authentic if I'd been colonized from birth? I don't know what it is to be an authentic African. I love the Ghanaian culture. I love the South African culture, the Nigerian. I love Africa, but I don't know what it is to be an authentic African. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And so, of course, as an American, that's what we're also looking for. But one of the things that you can do, because you not only have the DNA lineage, you also have the social lineage. It's still there. It still lives in the conversations. It still lives in the experiences. It still lives in the interaction. It lives there. It is, and so for instance, you can see the authentic African when you extract away the colonial realities and you say, well, how do you extract away that? And what are they? The colonization showed you who they are. They showed you what they were doing. So remove the paternalistic reality. So if you remove this paternalistic reality away from your ideology, then what might surface, right? What might surface? Well, Mother Africa. The first word is mother. So the African culture was more maternalistic than paternalistic. So what you do then is you go, okay, authentic Africa is not colonial Africa. I know what colonial Africa looked like. Let me take these tenets out. And you'll find authentic Africa as you begin to remove the colonization mindset. That's how you find it. And each of you will find it in your own different space, in your own different cultural settings. You'll find it in your own personal realities, right? It may not be generalizable until many people find it, but you can find it by doing that. And so oftentimes I say, so what is the authentic enslaved African? Who, how did he come here? What was her thoughts? And what I do is simply say, okay, well, if this is what they taught, then maybe I can extrapolate from that what was already there, right? And then there's lots of text and writings about what was going on. And so, yeah, there are ways to find out. All right. And so I'm going to just end with those interpersonal skills that you'll see building, acknowledging, and nurturing. Those are the things that you want to begin to do with your community, with your family, and with your friends. And the way to really find out what it looks like is to really go back to those conversations. Because remember, the Africans didn't write it down because the rich and beautiful storytelling was the way we kept the stories alive. But the Europeans came in and said, that's not the right way. And it kind of dissipated in many spaces. And that's one of the ways colonization put it aside. So the thing is that begin to think about it is in your DNA, who and how you are. So I end with this. I often end with Desmond Tutu. I believe history teaches us a categorical lesson that once a people are determined to become free, then nothing in the world can stop them reaching their goal. Thank you.
Incredible leaders. Are you giving a standing ovation? Remember, we agreed we will say thank you. Now here at Poly, you find these incredible facilitators, professors who just pour everything. And Professor Hancock is not speaking theory, he's speaking his life. He's done incredible research. He's one of the choicest on this subject. He speaks all over the world at the finest universities around the world. And we can't thank him enough. Because of time, I'm going to invite two of our leaders. May I invite Mr. Levy and Happiness. I'd like you to share briefly your takeaways from this class and then help say thank you to Professor Hancock. If you can turn on your camera, please do. If not, please kindly, respectfully jump on and speak. But also, if you have further questions, we're here to serve you. The way to serve, here to serve you. So you can reach out with your questions. And Professor Hancock, you know, he's more than a Pollyan. He will spend all the time pouring his wisdom to you. And by the way, he's going to be at graduation, so you can get a hug him. Let me shut up. as we get ready. Mr. Levy, please go first.
Thank you, Dr. Hancock. Thank you so much. That is so insightful. Yes, first of all, speaking as a victim of colonization, I'd like to unlearn a lot of things that have blocked my psyche in seeing a better Africa. It's been challenging. They talk about, the internal conflict, the cognitive dissonance when you come into certain information and it's not the reality you're living. I want to be an authentic African. I want my children to be authentic Africans. Unfortunately, we've been brainwashed, but fortunately, we're on this course to open up our minds and see a better Africa. So thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.
Let's say thank you to Mr. Levy as well. Let's say thank you to him for saying thank you. Can you help thank him also in the chat room? Happiness, please, respectfully. Are you able to quickly share your thoughts, please?
Thank you very much and greetings. I've learned that freedom is within us. We will free ourselves from this colonization, and we have to work on it on daily basis as long as we live. And for us to be free, we need to learn, unlearn, and relearn new things. Thank you.
Incredible words from you, Madam Happiness. Let's thank her. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. Any final volunteer very quickly as we switch over to the final class for today? We have another 40 minutes to finish class. If you feel like, wow, this was a wow for me, please kindly unmute yourself and just say something very quickly, please. We need your voice right now. I feel like this was wow. This is just a wow.
Thank you very much. I'm Rosine Nhongane I'm residing here in Italy. This was pretty powerful for me. This idea was wonderful and it was completely new for me. I didn't know much about this idea of colonizations, and I really thank you very much for the information, for the explanation. I really get to have some idea and view of these things, and I'm hoping to get more of this. Thank you very much.
Very well said. Very well said. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Let me make sure mine. Professor Hancock. Oh my gosh. We can listen to you for years. Thank you so much. Prof, you do us the honors and please kindly help us read the profile of your brother, my brother, our brother. Thank you. Professor Hancock, please do us the honors.
Oh, okay. You want me to read that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
All right. So this is Professor Ian Boxall. Dr. Ian Boxall is a professor of comparative sociology and development at the University of the West Indies, Mona campus in Jamaica. He is also an adjunct professor at the SD Dambo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies in Wa, Ghana. He has studied at a variety of institutions, including the UWE, Colorado State University, and the Judge Business School at Cambridge University. From 2018 to 2023, he served as the deputy principal of the UWE Mona campus, and prior to that, he was the dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences at the same campus. During the period of 2010 to 2018, he held the S. Carlton Alexander Chair in Management Studies, a development specialist with experience working with the CARICOM, IMF, the World Bank. Boxall is the author, editor of 70 peer-reviewed articles, and has lectured at universities in New Zealand, Mexico, United States of America, the Caribbean, Barbados, and Trinidad, and in Ghana. The founder of and convener of the annual African in Transition Conference, Accra, Ghana. He is also the chairman and CEO of the African Caribbean Center for Development located in Jamaica and Ghana. So without further ado, his topic is the Africa you don't see in the media, time to connect with the continent. So without further ado, I give you Dr. Boxill.
Welcome, Prof. And we're sorry about what Jamaica has had to go through with a terrible Melissa.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope you can see me. Thank you for your well wishes. As you know, we're having some issues with the internet, and so if we have some internet problems, you will understand that the hurricane has made life a bit more difficult for people, especially those in the western part of the country. Those of us in the east are pretty okay, but we're still feeling the effects. So apologies if the if there are issues with the internet going forward. Thank you. What I want to do today is share my my slides with you. So here we go. Hope you can see that. And let's start here. So today our topic is the Africa you don't see in the media, and time to reconnect with the continent is now. I am told I have, how much time do I have, Dr. Kofi?
Prof, you have about 40 minutes to go, please.
Okay, about 40. So I'll try to finish this, and then I'll try to accommodate some questions. So I first want to begin by talking a bit about, I know most of you are from the continent itself, so this is nothing new. But for those of you who might not be and who might not be aware of some of these things, I just wanted to just review them so that we set some context. And I want to begin by talking about the continent itself. As you know, Africa comprises 55, well, the African Union comprises 55 members. There are 54 countries in Africa. Oftentimes people say Africa. And when the term Africa is used, can you see my slide, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. When the term Africa is often used, there's a tendency to be very vague about where in Africa we're talking about. And it's often important to say exactly where we're talking about, because we're talking about a very diverse place. As you all know, human life started in Africa. So therefore, in terms of diversity, it would be the most diverse place on the planet in terms of DNA, but also in terms of cultures and variations in those cultures. So, but in this context, we are talking about a continent comprising 54 countries. And in where the AU is concerned, there are 55 because the diaspora, the African diaspora, is now recognized as one of the region, the sixth region of the African Union. Now, in terms of when we're talking about Africa, I think it's important again to place things in context, because the comparison is very important. If we look at the size of the African economies, Africa economy relative to the largest economies, we'll see from this slide that obviously United States, China, Germany, Japan, India, and United Kingdom, followed by France, are the 7 largest economies in the world. So these 7 largest economies have a GDP around 3 trillion. And then after that, we have Brazil, Brazil is the number 8 with 2.3 trillion. But I wanted to take a quick look at number 7, where you see under France that if we were to combine all of the GDP of the entire continent, it would be ranked around number 7, at the same level of, say, France. More importantly, though, the African continent is projected to have the fastest growth rate of all continents in the world. The nearest to the African continent would be China in terms of growth rates, but even the 5% projected for China is not happening at the moment. In fact, China, last time I checked, was just under 5%, and the economy is slowing slightly. But Africa continues to grow around 4 or 5%. So let me put it a different way. If one were to compare the continent itself, constituting 1.5 billion with the next largest economy, say India, another 1.5 billion, we can come to the conclusion that in, say, the next 10, 15, 20 years, that it is likely that Africa, with these growth rates, will surpass India and certainly occupy, say, within the next 20, 30 years, would be among the top 5 economies in the world. And this is assuming that United States continues to grow at the rate that it is, and China and Germany. As we can see from if we look at the data over time, Germany's economy has been showing signs of decline. And so one would expect that Germany and Japan in the future will not continue to grow at the rate that they are at the moment. So the takeaway from this is that even with all of
I'm sorry, Prof. Just a quick comment. If you could kindly use your presentation mode. Thank you. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just realized that. So so the one takeaway from this here is that going forward, I think that if one were to take the continent as a collective, that it will become a major player in terms of the top economies in the world. And, in the next 15 to 20 years, it would be impossible to ignore the continent itself. The reason why I say this is because of not just only the growth rates that you're seeing, but because of the slowdown that we're seeing across the world. And there is a demographic shift that is happening globally. And the only continent that is bucking that shift is Africa. Put another way, most of the world is graying, whereas Africa remains very youthful, and it will remain the only youthful continent in the next 20 years or so. So if we were to talk about growth rates, there is absolutely no question that Africa will be front and center of the growth that we will see globally. And the economies that we see experiencing the highest growth rates will flag at some point, and Africa will outpace these economies. Now, let us ask some questions about Africa. And for those of you who are from the Caribbean region, if one were to put in context again the diaspora, because here one is connecting Africa to the diaspora. If one were to talk about the GDP of the Caribbean, what is called the CARICOM region, and that excludes the non-English speaking countries, most of the non-English speaking countries, because Haiti is included here. The GDP is about 85 billion, pretty small. And population-wise, pretty small for the wider Caribbean, 40 million, 18 million for CARICOM. Ghana alone is 33 million. And if we were to compare the size of the economies and where they're ranked, we will see that really and truly, if we were to take Ghana as an example, that these economies in the region, even though they are large relative to their population size, in the scheme of things, they are pretty small when compared to other economies globally. And this is also true when we talk about the Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient is a measure of inequality, and the inequalities that we see in a place like Ghana are not that significantly off from some of the other Caribbean countries, say Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. So there are strong similarities, but the takeaway from this slide again is that there is an overwhelming case for engaging with African countries, given the size of their economies and given where they rank globally. Okay, sorry. Okay, so historically there have been quite a few, and from your previous discussion, some of this would have come up indirectly over the years. One would have heard a number of things about Africa. In fact, what am I saying? Over the years, even now, if one were to often listen to the BBC or CNN, if you see a photo of Sudan or wherever, you see the same set of photos emerging. One of them is that Africa is overpopulated. Let's dispel that immediately. Africa is one of the least dense continents in the world. Outside of Antarctica, it is the least densely populated continent in the world. 1.5 million for a continent that can fit many, many countries that have over 1.5 million people will tell you that Africa has never been overpopulated, but that was something that was perpetuated for a very long time. I think they've held off on that a bit now, but you still hear it in some, if you take classes in some universities on economics, especially on macroeconomics or international economics, they still talk about overpopulation. That used to be a big thing in the past. It's no longer as big an issue, because I think there's a recognition that there is no case at all to represent that as true. Secondly, there's the issue of poverty. And yes, there are many African countries that have high rates of poverty, but the poverty rate has been declining exponentially across most African countries. And you can actually check, I mean, I have data which I can share with you, but if you all want more information on that, I can help you with that. And then there's the lack of infrastructure. Again, Africa has been going through a dramatic transformation in infrastructure. And as you all know, there's a running debate in the development literature about Africa and the infrastructure development because of the role of China, and how China and the fact that well, it's not a fact, but the view that China has created large indebtedness across Africa because of its investment in infrastructure. There is no question that China has a great deal of leverage in Africa, but that leverage is overstated. And in fact, I've had colleagues who have actually looked at the debt overhang in some of these countries, and the conclusion is very clear, that there is no debt trap in these countries at all. In fact, what has happened is that the infrastructure has improved significantly, and that these countries are performing much better. And were it not for this infrastructure, one would not have seen the level of development or the pace of economic growth in some of these countries. And then, of course, there's what is called the endless war, what I call the endless war lie. You see it again, Sudan, and if you follow social media, you see the common the often made statements is, why can't Africans start kill each other and whatever? And of course, the question is, yes, I mean, that should happen, but one forgets that Europe only in less than 100 years ago went through some of the most brutal wars, fighting each other and killing each other in a manner which the world has not seen since. So that what the conflicts you see in Africa are not simply a matter of people who are sort of have no respect for life, but they are emerged from historical events which have happened over time. But it is important to point out that much of the world was engulfed in serious wars not too long ago. And so to even classify what we see in Africa as endless war would be to miss and to misunderstand the historical development of many countries outside of Africa, especially Europe. Oh, sorry about that. There's some difficulties. So these are some of the stereotypes of African societies that we see, and these are largely in rural areas. And again, some of it is true, but the stereotype is precisely that it is something that we have to avoid because this is a partial picture. It's almost like me going to, say, Mississippi and show you the cotton fields and people in those cotton fields and saying this represents the entirety of the United States. This is part of the story, but Africa, in its diversity, represents much more than this. So I say, let's be honest here. Africa is in transition. Some of you would have heard about the youth protest in Kenya, and those of you who are here from Kenya or from Cameroon or Tanzania would have experienced or would have followed some of these protests. Again, these are evolving societies which are contending with a number of issues of governance, and we see it with people on the streets trying to improve their situation in their country. Again, this is not unique to Africa by any means. I mean, we just saw protests in Nepal where they burned down Parliament. We've seen this continuous protests across India, across Thailand, across the United States. Recently there was an attempt to almost overthrow government in the United States. So again, we have to contextualize what we're seeing emerging. And then there's social media critics from the diaspora. I follow sometimes some of the persons who visit different countries in Africa and then report on their experiences. And one has to be careful of something called ethnocentric bias, where persons take their own perspective of reality and then try to interpret another reality. Without trying to understand that context, it's important that when one moves from one context to the next, one has to first immerse oneself in that context to understand what is happening. And there's a lot of that out there. You'll see people visiting Kenya, or they visit Ghana, or they visit whatever, and then they come back and they tell you about their negative experiences. And a lot of these get a lot of likes on social media and often lead to some discourses which I find to be not as productive as they could be. So again, this land that we call Africa, this continent that we're talking about, if you could see here, 30.37 million square miles. And it's large enough to fit many countries. So if you were to combine China, just China and India combined, those countries alone, 3 billion people, constituting 3 billion people. Look at the size of those countries fitting into to Africa. And then there's Japan, there's Mexico, and many European countries. So we're talking about a huge continent, a very, very large continent. So again, no country in Africa is overpopulated. In fact, many countries in Africa are underpopulated. If one wants to talk about overpopulated countries, one can talk about Macau, Monaco, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Gibraltar. However, these are the 5 most densely populated countries in the world, but yet they have some of the highest GDP in the world. So there is no real correlation between population size and development. That is something that has been dispensed with now. So even in the literature that you see emerging now, people are critiquing these sort of references to population size. Here's an Africa that exists currently. If you take Namibia, this is the capital city, Windhoek, which is, yes, there's a strong German influence you can see in that church, but this is the capital city, comprises 2.5 million people, and it's 3 times the size of the UK, with a population that has a population of 67 million. So one can say that in a sense that Namibia is a country which is probably the least densely populated country in the world. And then we have Ethiopia. Ethiopia over the years has been emerging as an important power in terms, not only in terms of, and we're not talking about militarily, but we're talking about economically. From the technology standpoint, Ethiopia has been moving ahead on many different fronts. In fact, the government there has invested significantly in high tech and trying to transform this country. There are quite a lot of investors coming out of Europe and the United States. Again, the question is, and China, sorry. The question is, why are there not more from the diaspora getting involved in places like this. Again, this is from Ethiopia going through a massive transformation. And then what we're witnessing across Africa are these mega projects that are transforming the continent. So from the new smart city in Egypt to the Konza Technology City in Kenya, which has been in the forefront of fintech technology, not just in Africa, but across the world. Kenya actually pioneered the use of mobile money and the use of the mobile phone for many activities, not just in banking, but other activities. Kenya has been in the forefront. Then we have the Dangote oil refinery in Nigeria. Well, some of you have been following the news about the Americans, about Trump's, not I should say, of Trump's idea about invading Nigeria to stop ethnic cleansing or the cleansing of Christians. One only has to make reference to the Dangote oil refinery to know why that is the case. Dangote oil refinery in Nigeria was opened recently, and it's one of the largest refineries in the world. It's transforming the use of how African countries refine oil, because in the past, Nigeria would have to send its oil abroad to be refined. Now they don't have to do that. Dangote actually does that through its oil refinery, and Nigeria sits on a significant deposit of oil. So again, a reference to Nigeria is not by accident. One has to look back to what has happened with the Dangote oil refinery and the work that he's doing across the continent. And then there's a renewable energy revolution happening right across the continent. And of course, we heard recently about the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which is creating some conflict between Ethiopia and Egypt. Nonetheless, what this has done to Ethiopia is to transform its electrical power source in that country, and will have significant implications for its development. Ethiopia's emphasis on science and technology, again, with the recent opening, recent within the last 5-10 years of the Museum of Science. So we're talking about countries that are looking into the future using technology to transform their economies. And here is a photo of Dangote and his refinery when it was being constructed. Then interestingly, the story about Dangote and his refinery is that he approached a number of countries, those outside of Africa, largely in Europe and United States, for loans, and they refused. He even went to the Middle East, and they tried to talk him out of that. It was the Afrexim Bank, which is an African bank based in Egypt, but with branches across different parts of Africa, that advanced him the money to allow him to build this refinery. So he wasn't being supported by people outside of Africa, meaning largely in the United States or Europe. His support came from Africa and allowed him to complete this amazing refinery. Similar, by the way, to the dam in Ethiopia, which was built largely with the funds of the Ethiopian people. These are just photos showing some, the complexity of emerging infrastructure across Africa. I'm not for one saying that infrastructure simply equates development, but I'm saying that if one is talking about, one is critiquing a continent for the lack of these things, the fact is that there's a massive transformation happening. And those of you on the continent know that this is happening. And yes, it is not happening in every part of Africa, but in the urban areas, you'll see a lot of this happening. And then, of course, there are the railways. We're talking about Ethiopia, but also in Kenya. I've been on some of these, so I have the experience of knowing what they actually do in terms of transporting people. Tanzania also. One of the interesting things happening is the manufacturing, which is happening. Yes, some of it is assembly, but there are also countries that are actually manufacturing items such as buses that we have here in Uganda, and there are other countries that are undertaking this. Small craft design and manufacturing in Tanzania. So the transformation is very rapid, and in some cases, changing these countries very quickly. And we look forward to seeing Kenya's Silicon Valley, Kansas City, when it is fully constructed, expected by 2030. That should add a significant figure to the development in Kenya. And this is our artist's impression of the city. Now, one important aspect of development is how the interconnectedness. One of the problems within Africa has to do with the interconnectedness of countries. And this can only happen with the emergence of locally grown or homegrown airlines. And currently, Ethiopian is the largest. South African Airlines used to be one of the largest airlines that has undergone some changes over time. But Rwanda Air has been stepping into the breach along with Egypt Air. But Ethiopian has been doing some remarkable work. And importantly, they are partnering with a number of other airlines in order to bring service across the continent. So what are some of the business opportunities? If you're in the diaspora, or even if you're in Africa, what are some of these business opportunities? Well, they're in a whole range of areas, and you can take your pick. These opportunities abound almost in every African country. And certainly all that I've been to, these opportunities exist. And it's a question of whether or not persons are willing to engage and take the plunge in some of these areas. But the point is that the transformation or the transition that I'm talking about is real, and it is backed by important happenings that are necessary for some of these things here, developments in some of these areas to happen. So the question is now, what is to be done? A number of things. I begin with re-educating our youth that, especially those in the diaspora, that the history of the Americas did not start in 1492. And why is that important? It's important because I think in Dr. Hancock's talk, the part that I was able to catch where he talks about decolonization and reorienting one's consciousness, it's important to point out that the process also happens with an understanding of historical changes. That is to say that one has to also reconstruct history. If our history is linked to Europe, then the point of reference for everything becomes Europe. So the moment we recognize that a lot of this reality didn't start with Europe is the time we begin to look inwards to see what is it within our own societies that can drive us the same way that it would have driven us in the past. So, for example, prior to the coming of Columbus, there's evidence that Africans sailed and settled in South America. And there's emerging evidence and consensus around this. So we have to go beyond 1492. This means rewriting our textbooks. Also recognizing that the world in which we live in has changed. And some of the things I pointed out in my slides indicate that that world has indeed changed and is changing. The other thing is that history is important. We have to reteach and experience it. So museums are important, visiting them. One of the things that I experienced was visiting the Ashanti Museum in Ghana, and it gave me a completely different perspective of the Ashanti people. It just blew my mind, and I felt that everyone who in our part of the world where I'm from should actually have an experience like that. Search for different sources of news. Never depend on Western media for news on Africa. Very important. We now know that, well, we've known this for a while, that all of these news outlets reflect certain biases. And it is important for us to develop our own sources of news. During the war between in Ethiopia, where the Ethiopian government was involved with the Tigray army, I remember Abiy Ahmed saying that he will pioneer the setting up of an African broadcasting news similar to the BBC or the French or the Chinese. Nothing has come of that. I mean, it still remains an idea, but it's important for countries to reflect their own news and to have their own way of interpreting their reality. And lastly, invest. It's important for us to invest. You know, the combined spending power of African Americans is estimated at 1.6 trillion in 2021. It's probably more than that at this moment. But 1.6 trillion is larger, if I recall, than the Russian economy. So what are we going to do with that? People forget that China developed because of the investment by overseas Chinese. The overseas Chinese played a very important role in investing in China. So I think there is scope for the engagement of the diaspora in terms of getting involved in what is the transformation we see across Africa, and also among Africans from one country to the next, and travel the continent. And I say this to all my African brothers and sisters. One of the things that shocked me was that the number of persons on the continent who travel to Europe but don't travel to a country next to you. You will never find that in Europe. If you look at the tourism trends in Europe, their biggest tourism is what they call internal tourism, traveling between countries. Africa is an outlier in that most Africans will, if you're from French, what they call Francophone Africa, you're more likely to go to a French country in Europe, France or somewhere else, Belgium, than going to another country in Africa, even if that country is right next door. There are some exceptions to this, people who live near to the border who cross, but nonetheless, this is something that really has to change, because the best way to improve oneself is to first learn about oneself, and that is an issue here. And secondly, I think also us from the diaspora need to engage and travel to the continent much more. So these are some of the things that I think ought to be done as we move forward. I want to share, finally, my final slide, a brief story with you. And this brief story, one of my asked where my interest in Africa would have emerged. Well, it has emerged. It emerged many years ago. But nonetheless, I did a personal thing. I wanted to find out where my ancestors were across Africa. Now, interestingly, I took this DNA test, and if you look on this map, you will see the areas that I have been linked to on the continent. And you'll see from the west right down to the southwest, and even across the east. The DNA of many of our people who left Africa, that DNA is very complex. I tell many of my colleagues that in researching this, you'll find that people who came from this part of the world came from all over Africa, because it was important for the colonizers to ensure that people from one group didn't stay together. So people were mixed up. And so people came from different places. So as far as Madagascar, actually, people forget that Malagasy people actually came to the Caribbean and to the United States. That personal journey, I think, is part of the process of decolonizing one's mind. I thought that was important, because having an anchor is very important. For persons living on the continent, you might not see that as a critical factor, but those outside of the continent, that anchor becomes very important. And that is a part of the process of reconnecting. So when I talk to colleagues in the diaspora, and I say about the time to reconnect with Africa is now, it is this understanding one's own self, one's own biography, which helps to link to that connection. So the personal to the general is what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, I know I have limited time, so I'm going to stop there for now. Thank you so much. And I'm open for any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Oh my word. Another standing ovation, leaders. Another stand. I'm sure you agree that we can't get this sort of wisdom anywhere else. In just 2 hours, is like $1 million sessions. Distinguished leaders, what do you say? Big stand innovation, incredible transformation. Professor Boxill, this is just something else. I'm speechless. So I'm looking for someone who has a voice. Please first get your fingers working, put that in the chat room. I'm probably going to invite Madam Aisha, and I'll also invite Madam Dorcas. Please, respectfully, if you could just take a minute and just reflect and help us say thank you. I'm going to invite our dean to give like a 1-minute announcement as we get ready. Remember, our tradition here at Poly is at the end of class, we all have our ethical standards that we read together. So please stay put as we read our ethical standards together. Hopefully that we can wrap up in 2-3 minutes, in about maybe four minutes. So you're going to receive an email which tells you next steps, and you also receive a list of the team, so you know the team you belong to. There is a case study for you to work on. You are the leader of the team. Don't wait for somebody else, respectfully. You are the leader, and so you're required to pull everybody together, form a WhatsApp group, and then start working on your case. This class is recorded. It's in Moodle, so you will have access to it. In about 2 hours, it should be up in Moodle, and then the slides will be graciously made available through our professors for today. But if you think today has been awesome, please just share your sentiments in the chat room. And if there's one question, let's take one question because of time. Otherwise, I go straight away to Madam Aisha. Any question, please? All right. Because of time, let's go to Aisha, please. Madam Aisha, please, respectfully, are you able to just jump in, please? Thank you.
Of course. So I'm sorry if you're hearing lots of noise around me. I'm living in the Caribbean. There are dogs, there's neighbors playing music. It's a lot going on right now. But just want to thank you, Professor Boxill. That was a really, really great session, particularly as we came off of looking at the colonization, and then you came and dismantled exactly how modern Africa is so much different from what we see, and also how that decolonization actually plays a part in how we perceive Africa, and the media structures and the financial structures that kind of keep that old impression in place, which was really, really great. And speaking as somebody who works with the Trinidad and Tobago business community, there is such a great interest in doing business in Africa. Our current Minister of Trade actually is very, very, very passionate about doing business in Ghana. He is actually spearheading a regular flight from Ghana to Trinidad and Tobago. He actually just spoke about it a few days ago. So it is something that I know from the business part of Trinidad and Tobago. There's a keen interest in making partnerships and cross-border trade between the two.
Thank you for your wisdom, Madam Aisha. Thank you. Madam Dorcas, please. Please, could you chip in quickly? Ms. Dorcas.
Thank you so much, Professor Boxill, for that presentation. Just 4 things from me. Thank you for demystifying some of the myths that we have around Africa. I think those are very critical for a lot of us on the continent, because we always think of ourselves as poor, as overpopulated. We're trying to solve problems that we actually do not have. So that was very important for me. And also the numbers do help in bringing out the picture that we don't often see. So it was great to see the numbers and the actual pictures. For us on the continent, we know about what Dangote is doing, but actually getting to understand the impact of what he's doing on the continent, and further how it can further impact the rest of the continent is also amazing. And then just the opportunities that you covered. Talking even about the fact that we don't know Africa, we don't visit Africa enough. We're always dashing off to further countries and further continents, and yet the richness is in Africa. So thank you very much for that presentation, Professor Boxill. Thank you.
And if you would agree with me that we should vote for Professor Boxall as one of the finest and the greatest demystifiers of lies. You know, he's busting lies. He's a lies buster. If you would vote for him, please show your votes in the chat room. We've got to vote for this man, just helping us to bust some horrible lies around the world. Thank you, Prof. We appreciate you. We love you. All right. All right. Where are the votes in the room? All right. Let's give to the dean as we shout our ethical standards. Let's give 1 minute. Where's our mighty dean? Are you able to chip in a word? Dean, are you able to chip in a word? Otherwise, we can do that next week. All right, beautiful leaders, let's do our ethical standards. I think I've made the announcements for the dean. And so please look out for your emails, our main channel of communication.
I'm here, Doc. Can I still speak?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
All right,
go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity, and to our most wonderful professors tonight. Thank you, Professor Hancock. Thank you, Professor Boxall. It was a pleasure meeting you the other time. Always refreshing to have both of you facilitate these thought-provoking and life-transforming sessions. So thank you so much. And very quickly, I want to welcome all of our Gateway to Africa cohort this period. It's such a wonderful time having you, and there's so much more to come. We are here to serve you, like Doc has consistently said, and we want to add value to everything you experience, make it worthwhile. So you just have to kindly just follow through with everything. We always update you with weekly emails. Emails are our main channels of communication. So every week, please look out for emails from us that would update you on every activity in every session for each week. So please kindly stay glued to your emails and also be precise about your responses about participation in class for each week. Very important, because we are very meticulous with our class attendance. It's carefully monitored and recorded, your attendance, because it's a requirement for your certification and graduation eventually. So it's very, very important that you're in class for at least 2 hours of the session. Otherwise, you would be recorded as being absent from the class. And also, I want to commend each and every one of you for representing yourselves fully by your names and your countries. And please maintain same for the rest of the class, or the course rather, because this is a paid course. And also your photos, please kindly send in your photos as soon as possible via WhatsApp. You're free to do that via WhatsApp. We have a tradition of putting together a very beautiful framework for all our cohorts. So it would be an opportunity to put the faces to the names and get to see what you look like. And we'll put it out for your social media handles as well. You'll be proud to have a copy of that at the end of the course, or even before the end of the course. So please kindly send in your photos if you're yet to do that. Yeah, I think that's about it for now. And like I said, please be on the lookout for emails, weekly emails from time to time. Read them, and then you would be very much updated. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished leaders, please respectfully, kindly unmute yourselves. We're senior leaders, but at the end of a class, we behave like kids. All right, so you're gonna unmute yourself. We're gonna shout this together, every one of us. We all read this together. We need to hear your voice.
Thank you so much. Thank you. What a wonderful
All right,
session.
are you ready? Let's go. We're gonna read it together from I am. I am part of a global community, the highest ethical standard. I am driven by love, integrity, excellence, and civism. I understand
the effective leadership lives
I am one of the most
learning from other leaders. I am one of the most respected leaders in the world.
In the world. Congratulations. Have yourself a great evening. Look out for your email.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thank you
night.
so much.
Good night.
Great night. Have a great night and a great evening, a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.